"Return it to me." The phrase wasn't shouted, yet it sliced through the corridor atmosphere like a sharp blade on a frozen morning. Every footstep, each burst of laughter, all locker doors slamming, came to an abrupt halt. Kelsey Monroe found herself motionless beneath the harsh overhead lighting of Lincoln Middle School. Her arms shook by her side. Her bare scalp, smooth and exposed, was now on full display for everyone to see. Hanging from Savannah Blake's perfectly polished fingertips was Kelsey's gentle brown hairpiece, the same one her mother had earned through working extra shifts at 2 different jobs. Savannah smiled with the satisfaction of a predator who had cornered its prey. "Whoops," she sang out, her tone dripping with artificial sweetness that matched the overwhelming cologne she constantly wore. "My mistake, Chrome Dome." Waves of snickering echoed throughout the hallway. Heather released a sharp, piercing laugh. Luke, tall and arrogant, elbowed his buddy and sneered, "Brutal! She's like one of those weird extraterrestrial children from those conspiracy shows." Tasha Freeman stood 10 lockers away, working her combination lock. When the incident occurred, she remained still, simply pausing. Her eyes became slits, her jaw tightened. Kelsey's image wavered in the metallic surface before her, vulnerable, tiny, degraded. The silence stretched thin like an overstretched elastic band ready to break. Kelsey remained speechless, refusing to shed tears. She simply remained there, face flushed, eyes glistening yet remaining dry. Savannah spun the hairpiece as though it were some amusing toy, a trophy. The corridor observed in that heavy, suffocating quiet, the type that sticks in your windpipe, must be sweltering beneath all that sympathy, Savannah taunted, projecting her voice for the audience. "I mean, sick children receive everything handed to them. Extra attention, priority seating, charity drives. What about my moment in the spotlight?" Additional laughter erupted. Tasha released a slow breath, her grip loosening from the lock dial. She pivoted, focusing intently, not on Savannah but on Kelsey. She anticipated something, a strike, a shriek, a complete breakdown. Instead, Kelsey simply moved forward. She remained silent. She extended her hand, carefully retrieved the hairpiece from Savannah's grasp, no grabbing, no shaking, and repositioned it on her head as well as she could manage. It appeared lopsided. Nobody offered assistance. Then, keeping her gaze down, she departed. Each movement was measured, intentional, as though every section of that hallway flooring needed to be reclaimed. Having read this far, my heart truly breaks seeing how callous everyone acted toward Kelsey Monroe, a young person, fighting a devastating condition, yet still attempting to overcome hardship with grace. Please show your support for this courageous and strong girl by hitting the like button or leaving a comment. The class bell sounded. Nobody budged. Tasha pressed her forehead against her locker, her pulse beating like a steady drumbeat. She barely knew the girl, had hardly exchanged words with her, yet something about that departure wounded deeper than any cruel remark ever could. It brought back memories she believed she'd left behind. Her father's memorial service, the hushed conversations at school, the expressions people gave her when she stopped defending herself. A recognizable pain resurfaced, that pain of witnessing someone being destroyed publicly while doing absolutely nothing. That night, over a dinner of beef roast and lima beans, her grandmother observed her moving, food around her dish. "Difficult day?" she inquired, her voice caring yet solid like seasoned timber. Tasha gave a slight shrug. "Just typical school drama," Grandma acknowledged with a nod. "School contains plenty of drama, the kind that either shapes you or shatters." "You?" Quiet lingered. "She didn't even defend herself," Tasha whispered, staring at the roast. "She just accepted it like she's become accustomed to it." Grandma placed her utensil down. "Have you considered that might be her method of resistance?" Tasha glanced up. "Not every conflict requires violence, sweetheart," Grandma explained. "However, staying silent can be risky. Sometimes it represents tranquility. Other times it's a cry that nobody acknowledges. Tasha offered no response. She retired early that evening, but her thoughts remained active. Not with Savannah's mocking laughter replaying in her mind. Not with Kelsey's shaking hands adjusting that hairpiece, as if self-respect could be sewn back together. She remained uncertain about her next move, but tomorrow she wouldn't turn away. Not this time. The following morning the lunchroom hummed like every other Friday. Foam containers rattled, rubber soles squeaked against worn flooring, and someone's music drifted from a backpack speaker. Everything seemed routine. Perhaps too routine. For Tasha Freeman, though, the world felt off balance. She located Kelsey sitting by herself once more. Identical corner spot, identical paper cup containing apple juice. The hairpiece appeared neater today, meticulously styled, parted with excessive precision, like protective armor. Kelsey gazed downward at her meal as if it had disappointed her. Tasha placed her tray at the table's opposite end without speaking. Kelsey didn't raise her eyes. Several tables away, Savannah Blake commanded attention as usual. Her voice climbed above the background noise, sickeningly sweet and self-satisfied. "Did anyone hear?" she announced loudly enough to carry across the room. "She's considering legal action against her hair for slander." Bursts of laughter. Heather laughed with excessive enthusiasm. Luke tossed a grape that ricocheted off someone's container. A handful of students glanced toward Kelsey's location, then quickly averted their gaze. Tasha clutched her fork more firmly. The mouthful of macaroni turned metallic on her tongue. Kelsey eventually lifted her gaze. Not frightened, not furious, simply exhausted. "You don't need to sit here," she said quietly. Tasha shrugged, seeking no permission. A brief smile appeared, then disappeared. Between classes, Tasha moved like an undercurrent, quiet, alert, ready to spring. She observed how certain kids looked toward Kelsey, then toward Savannah, as if they were waiting, evaluating, deciding. During physical education, the situation worsened. While the class ran laps, Savannah accidentally collided with Kelsey, causing her to stumble into the bleachers. The instructor, partially distracted by her clipboard, dismissed it. "Shake it off, Monroe." Tasha stopped mid-stride. Her chest burned, not from the running, but from holding back. That evening she avoided eating, ignored the television. She sat on her bedroom carpet, browsing through an old photograph collection. There was her father, Staff Sergeant Marcus Freeman in uniform, one arm embracing 6-year-old Tasha, the other saluting the flag. His expression showed the wear of sun and combat, yet remained peaceful. The type of peace you achieve by selecting your battles wisely. "You don't engage every time they provoke," a voice echoed from her memory. "You wait, you observe, and then you ensure they never forget your presence." She traced his features with her thumb. Monday arrived with rain and stillness. Most students complained, hurrying to their lockers with damp hair and soaked footwear. Savannah appeared tardy but more boisterous than typical, umbrella angled like a royal scepter, Heather following closely behind. During lunch, Savannah strutted, past Kelsey's table, hesitated, then made an abrupt turn. She leaned uncomfortably close. "You're not planning to weep again, are you? I mean, it was merely a prank. Unless you believe resembling a cue ball makes you unique." Kelsey didn't react, just focused on her peas. Tasha rose. The cafeteria seemed to pause breathing. "You must be really bored, right?" Tasha said, her voice quiet and controlled. "Must be exhausting, preventing all that nastiness from spilling out your mouth." Savannah hesitated. Her smile wavered. "I wasn't addressing you." "Well," Tasha said, moving closer, "you are at this moment." Some students inhaled sharply. Phones emerged from pockets. Savannah straightened. "What? Are you going to strike me?" Tasha's expression remained unchanged. "I'm not here to give you what you're seeking." She turned to Kelsey. "Let's go." Kelsey paused. Savannah mocked. "Right, move along. Let your protector dry your tears." Kelsey stood, But before departing, she did something unexpected. She looked Savannah directly in the eyes and said, "You know, it's interesting. You claim I'm weak, yet you can't stop staring at me. I wonder why that might be." Gasps filled the air. Tasha and Kelsey exited together. No applause, no dramatic soundtrack, just the sound of sneakers on tile and a cafeteria frozen in collective shame. That afternoon, Tasha sat with her grandmother again. Rain tapped the window like it was requesting entry. "You appear lighter," Grandma observed. Tasha stared into her tea. "I didn't fight her." Grandma smiled. "Excellent. That means you're finally understanding what type of battle truly matters." Tasha didn't respond, but something deep inside shifted. Not a victory, but the start of a boundary being established. Tuesday brought sunshine. Unfair, golden, shameless sunshine. As if the heavens had no recollection of cruelty. As if yesterday's poison hadn't seeped through the tiles. Inside Lincoln Middle School nothing had transformed, yet, simultaneously, everything had. Savannah Blake still strutted the corridors like a catwalk, but her laughter didn't resonate the same way. There was a missing element, a rhythm she hadn't noticed until it vanished. That silence now had an identity. Tasha Freeman. Tasha noticed it as well. She observed how people watched her as she passed, some with curiosity, some with wariness, and a few with something resembling relief. Kelsey remained quiet, still sat alone. But now there was always an available space beside her. Some days Tasha occupied it, other days she allowed it to remain vacant, not as abandonment, but as acknowledgement. But what troubled Tasha now wasn't Savannah's cruelty. It was the question, why? Why did Savannah despise Kelsey so intensely? What was it about a girl recovering from cancer, simply trying to exist, that triggered such ugliness? That evening, Tasha found herself in the school library. She wasn't particularly fond of books, not since her dad's passing, but that night, she wasn't seeking stories, she was seeking truth. Mrs. Richardson, the librarian, raised an eyebrow. "You here voluntarily, Freeman?" Tasha smirked. "Don't get comfortable with it." She sat in the back, laptop open. A quick search of local news archives revealed something unexpected. Her breath caught when she saw the headline, "Local woman receives bravery award while battling breast cancer. I fought for my children." The photograph showed a woman with a head covering holding a young blonde girl, Savannah, age 5. Tasha stared at the screen, jaw clenched. So that explains it. The next day she found Savannah by the vending machine, alone for once. Heather was visiting the nurse. Luke had football detention. The moment felt too quiet to waste. Tasha approached slowly. Savannah turned. "Oh, look, the hairpiece guardian." Tasha didn't take the bait. "You actually believe nobody knows about your mother?" Savannah froze. Tasha continued. "Because I do. She's a survivor, correct? Same thing Kelsey's attempting to become." Something flickered across Savannah's face. Too quick to interpret. "So what?" she snapped. "You think I'm envious? That I wish I received sympathy cards and gentle looks from teachers? I've been the kid without hair, too. I just didn't sob about it." Tasha tilted her head. "You didn't cry, so now nobody else should either." Savannah's jaw worked, but no words emerged. "You despised feeling powerless," Tasha said softly, "and now you make someone else experience it just so it doesn't remain with you." Savannah shoved a quarter into the machine. It clinked emptily. "You think you're a saint now? Just because you played hero in the cafeteria?" "No," Tasha said. "I think I'm simply tired of watching girls like you mistake pain for power." She turned to leave, but paused. "Your mother fought for her existence. You fight for attention. That's the distinction." She walked away without waiting for a response. That night, Tasha discovered Kelsey sketching in a notebook behind the bleachers. Pencil strokes curved into something gentle. Not people, but illumination. Light streaming through trees, light bending over shoulders, light healing what the world had broken. "You're talented," Tasha said. Kelsey shrugged. "It's the only thing that feels peaceful." Tasha sat beside her. After a pause, Kelsey asked, "Why do you care?" Tasha hesitated, then spoke for the first time about the letter her father wrote before his death, about the guilt she carried when she used to fight just to be feared, about watching someone like Kelsey break silently and realizing the world didn't need more silence. "My dad said, when we don't stand up, we bow to cowards. And I've bowed enough." Kelsey didn't answer, but she closed her notebook and didn't walk away. Wednesday. The sun rose like it had something to demonstrate. Light slanted through the east-facing windows of Lincoln Middle School, creating long shadows across the tile. But inside, tension buzzed like static. Quiet, sharp, waiting. By third period, the atmosphere felt different. Savannah Blake was no longer laughing. She was observing, calculating. Her usual smirk had vanished, replaced by something tighter, more vicious. Kelsey's quiet strength had attracted sympathy. Tasha's presence beside her had altered the dynamic, and Savannah, she'd lost the audience, and she knew it. She needed to remind everyone who still held power. It happened during lunch. The cafeteria was packed, noisy, but a hush spread when Savannah stood, her tray untouched. She walked toward Kelsey's table, flanked by Heather, who appeared uncertain, and Luke, arms crossed like a security guard. Tasha spotted them the moment they moved. She stood too, slowly, setting her spoon down with calm deliberation. Kelsey tensed. Her hand trembled slightly over her juice box. Savannah stopped a few feet from their table, tilted her head, and said loud enough for the room to hear, "So, what's the situation? You have a bodyguard now?" Murmurs spread like wildfire. Tasha stepped forward. "Careful, you're not excelling at this anymore." Savannah's eyes narrowed. "No, I'm just tired of the pity parade. Sick kids don't get a free pass to be disrespectful." "She hasn't spoken a word to you," Tasha replied. "That's what has you frightened." Savannah took a deep breath, then retrieved something from her jacket pocket. A folded printout. Tasha's disciplinary record. Old news. Fights, suspensions, a mugshot-like yearbook photo from 7th grade. She held it up. "You want to protect her? You chose the wrong person. Ask her how many girls she sent to the infirmary." Gasps echoed. Tasha didn't flinch. She stepped forward again, eyes locked on Savannah. "Yes," she said. "I fought. I bled. And I hurt people I shouldn't have. You know what changed? Silence. I got tired of being what people expected. Angry, violent, invisible. Now I fight for someone else." Savannah scoffed. "You're so full of yourself." Kelsey stood up. Everyone turned. She adjusted her hairpiece with a steady hand and stepped beside Tasha. Then she looked Savannah in the eye. "You can call her violent," she said quietly, "but at least she never ripped something off my head just to feel better about herself." The cafeteria froze. Savannah blinked. "You humiliated me, Savannah. You made me feel like a disease, and I still never hated you. But you chose hatred." Luke shifted uncomfortably. Heather's eyes dropped to her tray. Kelsey's voice didn't waver. "You want to break me? You should have done it before I remembered who I am." Tasha exhaled, and for the first time, Savannah had nothing to say. That evening, Principal Herrera called both girls into the office. Savannah's father had sent emails with complaints, legal threats, accusations of slander and harassment, but Tasha came prepared. She handed Principal Herrera a folder, printouts of anonymous student testimonies about Savannah's bullying, about the hairpiece incident, about the photos in the bathroom stalls. She didn't say a word, just handed it over. "Principal." Herrera flipped through the pages slowly, then he looked at Savannah. "Anything you want to add?" Savannah looked down. "No," she mumbled. Herrera leaned back. "Good. because there will be a disciplinary hearing, and I think it's time we stop pretending this hallway belongs to anyone. On the way out, Kelsey touched Tasha's shoulder. "Why did you keep all that information?" she asked. "The testimonies." Tasha shrugged. "Because you weren't the first," she said. "Just the final straw." They stepped into the golden light of late afternoon. Leaves blew across the parking lot in quiet spirals. "Does it get easier?" Kelsey asked. Tasha thought for a moment, then said, "No, but it gets louder, and eventually someone hears you." Friday morning arrived with a kind of nervous quiet, the kind that settles over a town just before a storm rolls in. Lincoln Middle School stood still, its walls holding their breath. At 9 a.m. sharp, in a carpeted conference room behind the main office, the disciplinary hearing began. Principal Herrera sat at the center of the long oak table, flanked by Mrs. Cartwright, the school counselor, and Mr. Benson, a community liaison from the school board. Their faces were composed, professional, but their eyes were alert. Across from them sat Savannah Blake, arms folded, her father beside her in a tailored navy suit. His voice had already filled the room with talk of character assassination, emotional distress, and social media hysteria. Savannah said nothing. She wore all black, mourning perhaps the control she used to have. A few chairs down sat Tasha Freeman, back straight, hands folded. No parents, no lawyer, just her. Her calm was deliberate, earned. Beside her sat Kelsey Monroe, visibly paler than usual, but composed, her mother's hand resting gently over hers. Principal Herrera cleared his throat. "We're here today to address multiple allegations of bullying, retaliation, and disruption to the school environment. All parties will be heard. This is not a courtroom, it is a school, and our goal is truth, resolution, and restoration." Savannah's father jumped in first. He laid out his argument with Polish, that Tasha was a known aggressor, that Savannah's actions were taken out of context, and that social media had distorted a moment of poor judgment into a witch hunt. Then he slid a E printout across the table, Tasha's disciplinary record. Again, Herrera didn't even glance at it. He turned to Tasha. "Would you like to respond?" Tasha didn't reach for papers. She didn't clear her throat. She just spoke. "I was angry once. Really angry. I thought fighting made me visible. It didn't. It just made me feared. That's not who I want to be now. But silence. Silence is dangerous." Kelsey was being hurt, not just laughed at, targeted. And when no one stopped it, I did. Savannah's father leaned forward. "So you admit to escalating things?" "No," Tasha said, her voice steady. "I admit to refusing to be quiet." A beat passed. Mrs. Cartwright's pen stilled over her notepad. Principal Herrera turned to Kelsey. "Would you like to speak?" Kelsey's hands shook slightly. Her voice, when it came, was soft but clear. "I didn't want to be anyone's cause. I just wanted to be invisible long enough to heal. But Savannah didn't want me invisible. She wanted me broken. She pulled off my hairpiece, called me a freak, mocked my illness like it made her stronger." Herrera looked toward Savannah. "Is this true?" Savannah opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes flicked toward her father, then to the table. Mr. Benson, silent until now, finally spoke. "We've received 6 anonymous student statements, all corroborating what Ms. Monroe just said. This wasn't an isolated event." Herrera nodded. "Given the pattern of behavior and the weight of the evidence, we'll be issuing a multi-day suspension with required participation in peer restoration sessions." Savannah's father stood. "You'll be hearing from our attorney." Herrera looked up, unmoved. "So will the school board, with our full report." Savannah stood too, glaring at Tasha. But there was no fire left in her eyes, just the hollow clink of a crown dropped in silence. Outside the office, Tasha exhaled for the first time. In what felt like hours, she turned to Kelsey. "You were brave," she said. Kelsey gave a small smile. "So were you." "No," Tasha replied, glancing toward the glass door Savannah had just disappeared through. That wasn't bravery. That was justice. Finally on time. They walked down the hallway together, side by side. The halls weren't silent anymore. Students stood in clusters, whispering. Not with mockery, but with something else. Recognition. Some nodded. One girl squeezed Tasha's shoulder gently as they passed. A boy from the chess club handed Kelsey a folded note. She opened it quietly. Inside were just 5 words. "You gave me hope today." Kelsey's fingers curled around the paper. Tasha looked ahead. The storm had passed, but the sky still held weight. And sometimes that weight meant change. Monday came soft. There was no announcement, no parade, no banners that read "Justice Served." Just early fall light creeping through the windows of Lincoln Middle School and the scent of someone heating leftover waffles in the teacher's lounge. Savannah Blake didn't show up. No one said her name. It was as if the walls had swallowed her presence whole. That sharp voice, those swaggering footsteps, gone, and with it, the rain of whispers and weaponized laughter that had ruled the school's rhythm. Kelsey Monroe stepped through the front doors alone. Her walk was still cautious, but her steps didn't falter. She wore the same hairpiece, but today it was different. Not armor, not camouflage. It was hers. She passed the row of lockers where it had all started, and for a brief second her reflection in the metal blinked back. She didn't flinch. In homeroom, the teacher barely looked up when Tasha Freeman entered. Backpack slung over one shoulder, hoodie half unzipped, expression unreadable. She took her seat at the back like always. Kelsey entered moments later, and for the first time, chose the seat right next to her. No one said anything, but something shifted. At lunch, they sat at the same table, not in the corner this time, but middle left, next to the vending machines. A few kids passed by and nodded. Some even smiled. Kelsey picked at her sandwich. "Weird," she said, glancing around. "It's like we flipped the script." Tasha popped open a chocolate milk carton. "Nah, we just burned the old one." A pause. Then Kelsey asked, almost hesitantly, "Does it ever feel too quiet?" Tasha leaned back in her chair. "Quiet doesn't scare me. Silence does." "What's the difference?" Tasha looked her in the eye. "Silence is when people see something wrong and do nothing. Quiet, that's just peace earning back its voice." Kelsey nodded slowly. "I think I'm ready to start talking again." "Good," Tasha said. "I think people are finally ready to listen." That evening, as the sun dipped low behind Alabama rooftops, Tasha and her grandmother sat on the porch swing the way they used to when her father was still alive. "You look different," Grandma said, sipping sweet tea. Tasha smiled faintly. "I feel heavier but lighter." Grandma nodded. "That's called growing." Tasha hesitated, then asked, "Did Daddy ever feel like he'd never stop fighting?" Her grandmother's voice softened. "All the time. But he fought for things that lasted longer than bruises. Things like dignity, truth, kindness with a spine." Tasha stared out across the yard. The trees rustled like old spirits breathing. "I didn't hit her," she said. "I know. I wanted to. I know that too. I just said what needed saying." Her grandmother's voice held pride and pain in equal parts. "Then you became who he raised you to be." Later that night, Kelsey posted a photo. Online, no hairpiece, just her smile, unguarded and bright. The caption read, "I'm still healing, but I'm not hiding." Below it, hundreds of hearts, dozens of messages. One from a girl in another state. "I've been scared to go back to school, but you gave me courage." Kelsey read it twice, then 3 times. Back. At school the next day, a flyer appeared on the bulletin board near the gym. "Voices unmuted. Peer support group. Wednesdays after school, open to anyone ready to speak or listen. Facilitators, T. Freeman and K. Monroe." Someone drew a heart beside it. No one tore it down. And so justice didn't shout. It didn't wear a cape. It sat at a lunch table. It listened. It stood beside someone quietly and refused to let them stand alone. And sometimes, just sometimes, it wore sneakers and a hoodie, and reminded the world that silence ends when someone chooses to speak.